Time to get educated from Mr. Probably Pretentious. We got Season 2, Episode 8 animation breakdown. For those of you who are watching the anime, all you're doing is looking at the anime, but you don't know what you're watching. Why don't you try to learn something and open your third eye so you can appreciate the anime beyond just the story?
Solo Leveling Season 2 Episode 8 was a major action highlight, and that's particularly mind-blowing because it has only been 2 weeks since the previous major action highlight. It's safe to say Solo Leveling is firing on all cylinders. Episode 8, or more specifically the second half of it, looked incredible. It was an absolute spectacle.
Insane.
And you know what that means. Let's break down the visuals. Make sure to subscribe. As always, let's talk about the core stuff first. This episode was directed by Tatsuya Sasaki and storyboarded by Yuka Kuroda and Yoshihiro Kanno.
That's the name that I'm the most familiar with, right? Didn't realize there's 2 more other notable names. I just hear Kanno's name being glazed whenever it comes to crazy fights happening.
I think Kanno storyboarded the Baran fight, and it's his work will mainly
Yeah, I think that a lot of people were just peeking at the Baran fight, right? So Kanno was pretty much entirely responsible for that.
focus on. Besides being one of the storyboard artists, Kanno was credited as an action animation director and a key animator, meaning yes, the second half of this episode was almost entirely handled by him. He did nearly 3 whole minutes of high-level action animation. We'll go through the specifics in a minute.
Some Blue Lock Season 2 finale shit. One person just saying, fuck it, I'll carry the team. And just delivered godlike content.
As many of you know, Yoshihiro Kanno is the main action guy behind Solo Leveling. Both the quality and the sheer volume of his work is mind-blowing. He did a ton of work for Season 1, he was involved with practically every other episode, and his output included storyboard work, animation direction, key animation, second key animation, and even in-between animation. In-between animation, who does that?
I thought in between animation is basically like the grunt that gets abused in order to, you know, prop up shitty scheduling by corporations. But Kanno himself was also in the trenches doing in-betweener?
Him and Tatsuya Yoshihara, that's it. Basically, he was a one-man army for Season 1, and compared to that, his output in Season 2 has been lacking, referring strictly to the amount and not the quality. I'm sure Season 2 has a tighter production window, but still, all Kanno did up until this point was some animation direction work for episodes 2 and 4, and key animation for a high-quality cut from episode.
I wonder if that was like a personal choice of him wanting to have just like, listen, I don't want to just do everything, but just like call me up when only the hype shit needs to be delivered and I'll step up.
Episode 6. It was clear that he was working on something big in the background, and this was it, presumably. Episode 8 is the one Kanno went all out for, at least one of the ones, and naturally it looked incredible. Kanno's participation isn't exactly a surprise. He probably wanted to handle this fight. His countdown illustration for Season 2 featured Jinwoo vs Baran, the version of this fight.
Yeah, the opening was also, you know, showing the fight. So yeah, obviously, yeah, very important scene to be happening, and he just wanted the credit, and rightfully so. I think the fight was insane. It's specifically the rain animation part. If it was really his decisions to bring the rain droplets into the fight for the ending sequence, that's genius.
From the opening was animated by him. He probably called dibs on this fight since the start. With all that out of the way, let's go through this episode scene by scene. Like I said near the start, I'll skip over the first half. There wasn't anything wrong with it, minus some jank here and there, but it understandably paled in comparison to the second half.
The quality was insane difference, yeah. The slice of life, you know, funny stuff with Ezreal doesn't need the most, you know, insane animation quality, right? But my god, once the fight started happening, that second half was just insane.
This short bit of close quarters combat looked cool.
Alright, I'm gonna ban both of you right now. What are you doing? What are you retards doing right now? Literally watching a Solo Leveling production value educational video. You monkeys are talking about Jujutsu Kaisen and Attack on Titan ending. You have no respect for the fucking stream. Just wasting, like, what are you doing? What the fuck are you monkeys doing? Did I just... Hold up. I think I banned the wrong guy. God fucking damn it. Oh my god. On timeout. I don't think you did it. You though, you're still going. Fuck you. Jesus fucking Christ. Have some awareness. Don't worry, you're back. It's just these two fucking retards just arguing in the comment section about Attack on Titan. Have some fucking awareness and respect for the stream. Holy shit. You want to talk about this? Go to Discord. Go fucking talk to each other on Discord. Why are you treating my chat like a fucking personal diary? Dial in, retards.
Though, as for the main fight, oh boy, was it a spectacle. Before we go through it, I think I should talk about Yoshihiro Kanno's style for a minute. Kanno is a master of timing, especially when he's in charge of the storyboards alongside the animation, as was the case here. His ability to create smooth, fast-moving action.
Oh, that was SAO stuff. That was SAO, God Mode Asuna versus, what's his name? God Mode, Pooh, right? Was this Pooh? Yeah. Prince of Hell.
To create smooth, fast-moving action scenes is unparalleled. Yes, it might come off as a bit too much at times, as a bit hard to follow, but his execution is usually so flawless that in your head, it just looks right.
Yeah, it does. Like, there's so many different things happening during the fight where I have to go back and rewind and just assess frame by frame to really follow the animation sometimes, but it's not so much that I can't follow the fight entirely. I love the way he does these cuts. I love the impactful way that he just is able to animate these fights.
Even if the actual action is difficult to follow, your brain instinctively knows that what's happening on screen is correct. This is because of the way he handles the transfer of energy between cuts and the way he paces his action.
Transfer of energy. We talking about kinetic motion physics right now? What would elaborate?
Basically, what I'm trying to say is that yes, some of his work, including some of this episode, can come off as visually overwhelming, but
I am overly stimulated when I watch it, but in a good way.
Usually, there's method behind the madness, at least in my opinion. Anyway, let's go.
So it's not just random brain rot. It's not just crazy. It's not a, what's it called? It's not a Studio Gohan situation with like Momentary Lily. I feel like that is just brain rot. That's just like, fuck it. No vision. Just throw everything at the board at once. Spam it. Just ult. Everybody ult right now. Everybody on the roster, just fucking spam your ults. That's what it feels like watching Studio Gohan's anime. For Kanno though, he can time the ults. Is this example making sense? Rather than everyone just being like, everybody ult, it's just like, all right, front squad, go. Second squad, go. Third squad, go. You know, there's like a method to the madness, as he says.
Go through the fight. First things first, 2D dragons, you love to see it.
Yep,
yes,
no
the
CG.
Quality wasn't too over the top. It wasn't a free run or a Mushoku Tensei or a Delicious in Dungeon, but it still looked great.
As long as the dragon is not CG, I'm just happy. The dragon was honestly kind of mid. Not as, you know, hype, but still, it's better than nothing.
The movements felt heavy and powerful. This shot, for example, the wings spreading is accompanied by wind effects. These linear shapes move faster and more erratically, while this circular puff of smoke emanating from the center moves slower.
Yeah. Two different velocity of wind animation with the camera shaking around in space just like adds that oomph.
That, coupled with the well-timed camera shakes and motion blur, makes this simple motion feel impactful. This is followed by a bunch of lightning effects and tons of hand-animated monsters. The latter, of course, is really impressive. I have in the past talked about why it's okay for this show to rely on 3D monsters at
Yeah, there's too much at times, you know? Like, specifically in the orc fight, episode 6, like, there's too much. You can't hand draw everything. Like, you should hand draw the stuff that really you want to highlight, but if you're going to use CG to offset, you know, the other stuff due to the sheer grand scale of the fights, like, I don't mind it, and I think that's actually practical to do it that way.
This point, given the scale of the fights, but they decided to go 2D for this episode, which fair enough.
Lex.
Quick sidebar, the art direction. I was not a fan. The ground looked overly busy, it was clunky and unappealing. Although it is worth mentioning that there's not a single show out there that handles this style of background well, except for Fate Heavenswheel, maybe. Some cool storyboard work here. This low angle shot looked nice. The timing was a bit Kanno-esque, so it was probably corrected by him. Some of the shadows were 3D, which makes sense. They had the models prepared already, might as well use them. This cut contained 4 panning layers, 3 of which were part of the background. The first layer was in front of the characters, so it moved in the opposite direction.
4 separate layers. Okay, you got the ground first.
direction from right to left, while the other two moved from left to right at different speeds. So did the cell layer drawn by the animator, creating a dynamic parallax
Left to right, right. Oh shit. First layer here. Right? It's moving this way, right? Right. It's going this way. Basically, there's a different layers happening. There's different layers happening. And shit is moving right, left, left, right. That just like adds more to the scene. I didn't even fucking know.
dynamic parallax effect. It's a cool look and it's quite common in
Cool.
anime. Of course, the characters
This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about where we're just watching, but we're not seeing. You know what I'm saying? It's like when people say, you're hearing me. No, sorry. You're listening to what I'm saying, but you're not hearing what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Basically, you're looking at the anime episode in awe because it's hype, but you don't know why it's hype. Right? Like to break down the end. That's why I think it's so important to really understand what the fuck are you even watching, right? That's the part where you open your third eye.
Of course, the characters themselves were moving and fighting. Loved the effects here, not overly complex. The fire ranged from 2 to 3 tones and the debris consisted of simple shapes.
Look
But
nice.
the amount and the timing of the effects were really satisfying to look at. Speaking of timing, the timing of the lightning here looked a bit
Yeah.
Kanata-esque, which was cool. The draftsmanship in this cut was insane. Baran is inherently difficult to draw, unorthodox anatomy, lots of lines, inorganic shapes, etc. But not only
Wonder why they decided to in the webtoon. If you saw the anime versus webtoon animation comparisons, Baran actually had a layer of armor, silver white armor, that I think got broken during the fight against Jinmu, and then he shed his skin, and then the final sequence he fights in this skin tone. But Baran just showed up immediately, like looking like a stripper in the anime. I guess the extra armor stuff is just like annoying to, you know, add on to, right? Or because of the background? I don't know, but there is a difference. He had extra layer of armor in the source material compared to the anime. His anatomy, is he that hard to draw? I don't know.
insane. Baran is inherently difficult to draw, unorthodox anatomy, lots of lines, inorganic shapes, etc. But not only was he drawn well, he was animated. Even this bit moved. It looks static, but it's not. His body
Let's see. What moved? Let's see. Not you.
even this
Right here, okay. Yeah, there's subtle movements. There's subtle. It's not like there's like a little twitch here, right? There's even a little twitch here. Yeah, sure.
It looks static, but it's not. His body is slowly shifting from one side to another, and that's animated frame by frame. It actually moves.
Impressive.
Next up on the list of things I can't believe were animated by hand, clouds. Usually, clouds are a part of the background. They aren't drawn by the animator, but that changes when the clouds need to interact with foreground components. For that reason, these cuts feature
The clouds was crazy. I'm starting to appreciate more of like smoke, gas, cloud, extra shading. Look at the way that the clouds are kind of like bubbling up as you play around with the shading in this kind of area, right? Look at it. See how it gets like bigger and smaller, and it's just like way more realistic.
background. They aren't drawn by the animator, but that changes when the clouds need to interact with foreground components. For that reason, these cuts featured hand animated clouds, and
God,
they
that was
looked
so sick.
good. The light texturing done by the photography department added a lot. This cut is so large. It's an ultra wide shot.
It is huge. Really sense the sheer scale of the attack. Like, look at that donut ring cloud, you know, basically just towering over this entire city. And then boom, debris go up. You can just see the different like shades. Even the lightning is just like, you got so many different tones, right? You got like the darker colors inside. You got like the really, really neon turquoise blue on the outside. You got white inside and the debris all popping up. Like, this scene was sick.
Shot, the clouds are hand animated, these spiky effect shapes look amazing, and there's a large amount of debris which helps with the scaling. The scene continued to feature large scale cinematic storyboards. The sweeping low angle camera work coupled with the lightning animation was
Yeah,
so
cool.
well done. The cut then seamlessly transitioned to this shot. The blue glow actually added to the quote-unquote cinematic look. Again, look at the amount of effects.
I'm
You
looking.
have the lightning, you have the
I'm just always surprised, just impressed at the level of debris detail.
two different kinds of wind, the thick main column and the more transparent shapes at a distance. You have the debris. It's a dense cut. I can't quite
Like, there's so much shit happening. Like, environmental damage, bro. I'm starting to realize whenever environmental damage is happening, there's so many things happening that you can't even appreciate. Like, this is such a quick scene that you see once and done. And in your mind, it's just like, whoa, cool lightning, go boom, boom. But the level of detail that they went through to, you know, highlight this destruction is so cool.
distance. You have the debris. It's a dense cut. I can't
1 second. Audio issues. And 3, 2, 1. We're good.
quite put my finger on what sets this cut apart, but the blue tone actually looks good. Solo Leveling in the past has been guilty of overusing these one-note blue heavy color scripts, but these shots, in my opinion,
Okay, Jesus fucking Christ. What's different here? Shit. Okay, one note blue tone. Okay. One note blue. Dense dark blue. Okay. But here, I mean, I see the lighter blue. Like, are we talking about the lightning right now? Because if we're talking about the background building and everything aside from the lightning, isn't this the same? We gotta be talking about the lightning effects, right? Like, maybe the clouds as well? I can't tell the difference, guys. I can't tell the difference in the back. Again, if we ignore the lightning bright, you know, blue, white, you know, fucking neon blue happening, if we ignore that and just assess the background blue here, I don't know. My eye isn't awakened enough to differentiate between the twos, but there is a different, like, I guess in a spectrum of the color blue, there's more different blues here for sure, right? Look at the clouds, right? Look at the clouds, lighter tone blue, right? Clearly the clouds here and the background sky here is a bit different. Same with the building, right? Even the building has two different tone shades here. And you see Essel here, right? The hair color, even the armor and everything. It's all like saturated blue, but it's all different tones of blue. So in a sense, you have a lot of different blue compared to this where it just looks very flat. That I do understand. I think I'm starting to see it. Or maybe I'm deluding myself to think that this is real. I need more training.
but these shots, in my opinion, look great. This entire section was presumably animated by storyboard artist Yuka Kuroda, by the way. I'm quite fond of
Kuroda
this
mentioned?
cut. The motion looks really fast.
Oh yeah, I love this scene where he was running up the side of the building and pulled out the weapon. I love the detail there.
Looks really fast because it's animated on ones, aka it has
Tempo.
a frame rate of 24. They conveyed speed through body mechanics instead of overly smeared movement. Effective spacing of frames can do wonders for the
Smart.
timing of a cut.
Yeah, kind of hard to like use smears to kind of portray Jinmu pulling out the daggers out of it, right? So don't rely on smears all the time. You can basically work with different tempo, work with ones to kind of slow down, like as like Jinmu scaling up the wall to pull out the shit to give it more detailed look.
Looks really fast because it's animated on ones, aka it has a frame rate of 24. They conveyed speed through body mechanics instead of overly smeared movement.
Okay.
Effective spacing of frames can do wonders for the timing of a cut. This shot, for example, Sung is initially animated on twos, but as he closes in, the scene switches to ones,
Slow
which
motion?
gives this build up a wonderful sense of smoothness. I'm not a fan of how static his face is here. The eyes are animated, but the rest of the face is a single drawing being
Is it?
slid across the screen. The
Okay. The eyes are drawn, but the rest of his body is a single drawing being slid across the screen. Yeah? Yeah? You guys see that? His hair's moving around. His eyes are moving around. But the rest of his face is static. So it's just moving. But like, does it need to have different facial reactions the entire way through? I mean, it would be cooler if it did, right? But I do see the point.
Face's hair, the eyes are animated, but the rest of the face is a single drawing being slid across the screen, which looks a bit stiff. Yes, that's a nitpick, it's an animation breakdown, what did you expect? The
I don't think there's nothing inherently wrong with nitpick, right? Like, it's just like, if there's anything to complain about, we're trying to pick something, but even that it's insignificant. It's just cool to know.
timing then goes full Kanno. Sung getting thrown around was accompanied by these classic high energy flickering wind effects,
Love
as
it.
well as these thicker, more jagged wind shapes. Some really well animated body mechanics here. Full body movement is
Running movement
inherently
arms?
difficult to animate because the anatomy and weight distribution across the entire body needs to be kept in mind.
Do you think that's why Naruto Run exists? Where you have arms going back the entire time rather than... But no. Because the manga already had the Naruto Run like that from the beginning. I highly doubt that the run was designed in a way to make the anime adaptation more convenient. I don't think that makes sense.
I feel like shots like these end up being underappreciated. Most people focus on flashy, bright cuts, and that's a shame because shots like these are really impressive. Not
That's-
only is the running animation here smooth
That's what I'm talking about, right? We're looking, but are we seeing? So like the lines here definitely look, I love how bold it is, but basically the focus here is the choreography of the running animation.
Not only is the running animation here smooth and weight-filled, you can sense Sung's desperation increase as the arcs of his hand become more erratic and smeary. Fantastic body language. Also, the line art gets more thick near the end,
That's right, the line art, the boldness.
which is always a treat for the eyes. What's the saying again? Thick lines save lives.
Did he say that? Mahatma Gandhi say that? Sure he did say that.
We then get one of the flashiest sequences from this episode. The effects moved fast, the color and compositing
Oh,
made
Jesus.
them pop
The
out
beam
against the
attacks.
night sky, and the sheer volume and scale was insane. This entire section was animated by Yoshihiro Kanno, the first of many. We start off with this dynamic shot. The camera zooms out, zooms back in, only to then zoom out again.
Love
the
it.
movement of the effects feels erratic, partially because most of them are animated on ones. It's not like they were heavily detailed. The shapes were relatively simple, but they moved so well. You could feel the energy. We got that classic Kanno beam and sparks, followed by these frantic lightning shapes. Some of it looked like Kutsuna lightning. More large-scale, dense, erratic
Debris.
effects followed. Again, it's mostly done on ones, and the spacing and the shapes makes everything feel high energy. You had 4 main layers of effects here. The 2 shades of fire, the blue energy /
Okay.
lightning, and the debris. None of those layers were detailed, they were flat, but the movement looked so lively. The shot then tracks the effects upwards, which fantastic storyboard work. The scene doesn't give you time to breathe, it's constant movement.
Agreed. Watching this, I was like, there's so much happening. I'm so overly stimulated. I'm keeping up with what I'm seeing, but I can't appreciate every single moment.
Really cool looking walk cycle here. The body language feels heavy and the way the wind brushes off him looks great. We then get some good looking many versus many combat. Not much to say besides the fact that it was 2D and that it was well storyboarded and drawn. More of that simple but highly energetic effects here. Even the ground was fully hand animated at one
Yeah.
point. There was a lot going on, lots of effects, lots of erratic character animation, lots of complex perspectives, be
Chaotic
it the
war.
angles or the way Kanno warps and elongates certain components like the daggers, lots of stuff, but all of it looked smooth. He also threw in these slow motion shots to serve as the buffer between fast paced action. Top notch body mechanics here, the physical struggle and the weight
Yeah? physical struggle. I think this is when he's getting clamped down by Tusk, right? Yeah, you can see his pecs moving around left to right.
Notch body mechanics
Boom,
here,
boom.
the physical struggle and the weight distribution is so well handled. Also again, more frantic, spectacular effects and amazing drawings. Even Sung Landing featured amazing build-up and release. All of that, by the way, starting from the first round of erratic effects, was animated by Yoshihiro Kanno. That's a minute and 27 seconds of high-level action animated by one guy, and that's
And you wouldn't think that's crazy, right? It's just a minute 30 something seconds. How hard could it be? But it's that crazy. You're seeking that as like 90 seconds. But a second has what? 60 frames? That's how that works, right? And each individual frame can have differentiating, movement. So like, I feel like fight sequences and stuff like that, it's just mind-boggling how much work that you have to put in, but it just seems like it's so short and you can't fully appreciate how much effort it took to make that small highlight clip. 24 frames per second? My bad. What was I thinking then? I was thinking about like fighting game terminology. Anyways, there's a lot of shit going on. You can't appreciate all of it.
It's not even half of it. We have now reached the animation highlight of this episode. Over a
The rain. Talk about the rain.
minute and 40 seconds of absurdly high-level action animation animated entirely by Yoshihiro Kanno. This was insane. The rain was a
Yes, this was an anime-only interpretation of this scene. The webtoon had no rain. So I can only imagine that Kanno himself said, "Let this shit rain."
nice addition. It was a combination of digital and hand-drawn effects, and between that, the other effects, the camera work, and the character animation, I can absolutely see why some of you might think that it was too much, that it was difficult to follow. I get that, but to me, that's part of the charm. The scene starts with this overhead shot, complete with those classic sparks and some background animation. The camera then pans down and the shot turns into a side profile. The motion is fast, but if you really pay attention, you'll notice that it makes sense. The characters
keeping up
aren't
with it.
simply flailing their limbs around. Their movement is sensible. A couple of cool, easy to miss
Like, that's crazy. Look at this shit, bro.
easy to
Look at the level of detail. What the fuck is happening here? It's just a clash. Insane clash happening.
A couple of cool, easy to miss impact frames here. Like I said, Kanno loves to buffer fast-paced action with slow motion shots. This cut, for example, featured tons of slow motion lightning
love
animated
it.
on ones.
One of the coolest things about the slow motion scene is, again, the rain droplets. I think that like the rain droplets adds that extra layer of immersion to like highlight like the significance of those slow motions, right? Because now you have extra other assets, the rain droplets, that's also like panning. Like, look at the camera work here. See how these rain droplets are basically just held in space as it's just all moving together? I think that's why he decided to add the rain in. Extra environmental stuff that, tracks together with the fight, that really highlights his slow motion techniques. It's peak.
Tons of slow motion lightning animated on ones. What followed was pure insanity to the point where it's difficult to break things down move by move. The characters were constantly moving and
Oh, look at this, dude. When it pauses, when it slows down, you see individual rain droplets. I feel like rather than glazing the fight, I'm just glazing the rain droplets. Even the rain droplet, is this a smearing? No, this is like individual rain flames that you're seeing right now. But I love how you have like multiple layers of rain droplets, right? You have the background like, rain, right? You got the lines, right? You got the very simple line rains. But then you have the little bit more detailed bubble like rains. You know what I'm talking about? Separate. And this one, sometimes I guess he just decided to, fuck it, just do a little squiggly instead. It's really cool. Multiple different rain droplets. Like, let's see. These ones, right? These ones that's like even more illuminated with the lighting here. The oval-shaped ones, they're like priority rain droplets. And then there's the background rain droplets.
constantly moving, and there's so much elasticity and fluidity in their movement. Also, the ground was largely hand animated. This high energy, fast paced, ultra wide exchange
Crazy.
of strikes is buffered by these slow motion close ups, because again, it's important to have breaks in between fast paced action.
Yes, and maybe even like, again, I'm just still talking about the rain animation. Sometimes the rain is coming down like this, right? Rain is falling vertically down, but due to like the camera work and the wind that's happening, imaginary wind that's happening, notice how the rain starts to like flow into the camera, right? Rather than going vertically down, it's now horizontally like kind of pacing into the camera. Like, it's so sick. This is just a rain animation breakdown right now.
The energy fast-paced ultra-wide exchange of strikes is buffered by these slow-motion close-ups because again, it's important to have breaks in between fast-paced action.
Absolutely. If we're constantly just going balls to the walls, just all out speed, you can't. You need to have like a burst of shit, then hold. Build up momentum, build up tension, then burst and then hold.
Look at the sheer volume of liquid animation here.
Dear Lord. Damn water. The rain animation here goes fucking crazy. This is when Jinu's falling down. Baran has the upper hand. The rain just falling off of Jin. But the rain isn't simply just falling. The rain is also falling off his body. You can see the individual droplet like impacts, off the bodies as well to kind of make this hit like more immersive, I guess.
Look at the sheer volume of liquid animation here. So many hand animated.
Dear Lord, that's ridiculous. What am I trying? like this could be just like, the shit that you're like 12-year-old kid could bring up from school and be like, see daddy, I drew this, put it on the fridge. It's just like, it looks like a random fucking scribbles and lines, right? But it's not. It's all intentional.
Hand animated raindrops. Yes, it's looped, meaning the same few frames are reused over and over again, but
yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. You'd be fucking crazy to have each single frame be different. Clearly there's gotta be like, couple couple seconds worth of rain animation that's being looped in specific scenes.
Still, that's a lot of effect layers to keep track of, especially because they interact with the foreground. They bounce off the characters. The drawing quality throughout this section was top-notch. I imagine Kanno did his own Genga for this scene. The weight distribution in this cut is insane. You can feel the weight of Sung pushing, and the debris helps sell that weight.
Yep.
Some good-looking effects, energetic, powerful character animation, and strong drawings then bring us to this black and white.
Yeah, this was the turning point. I mean, as soon as this is the final sequence, as soon as this starts to show up, I was like, oh my god, it's going crazier.
This black and white section, and what more can I say? Every frame is a work of art.
Peak.
The paint-like strokes and the powerful expressions look absolutely phenomenal, and the
Impact
energy built up
frames
by this section is paid off via these high energy effects and this grand.
And then the slow motion contact with the uppercut. It's so crazy. All the different crazy smearing impact frames happening. One fucking land. Look at that. The punch lands. Look at this shit. Boom, 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 boom. And then the final boom. The slow motion. And the beam shoots. And then even the teeth shattering is pretty cool, right? His entire teeth just shatter. The laser beam starts to because he was charging up for a laser beam as well. And then Jinmu basically just makes him shoot the laser from internally. It just kind of gets stopped. And it shoots into the space and clears up the rain in the sky, and then sun shows up to end the fight. Cinematic.
These high energy effects and this grand massive explosion complete with these triangular wind shapes. What
Almost like mushroom cloud right? Pretty cool.
What a sequence, what a fight, what an episode, what a season, what a show. Yoshihiro Kanno is a madman, and that should just about do it. This was the second.
And that's why you shouldn't be like, A1 Pictures delivered! They're so peak! They are peak. But who worked on it? Yoshihiro Kanno is the word more that worked on this. And the more that you're able to distinguish these directors, the more you can identify them perhaps in different projects and be like, hold up, that kind of looks similar. Why does this episode look good? Oh, that guy worked on it. I see.
A major episode from this season, and based on what I've heard, there should be one more. I'll try to cover.
That's right. Jeju Island, hype, right? It ain't over yet, and I think this is the one that Takeuchi will finally be stepping in to deliver. We'll see how good that one is.
Cover it when the time comes. That's about it. Liked the video? Check out.
Thank you, Probably Pretentious, for another educational video breaking down the animation so that we're not just looking at the anime, but we're seeing it. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't know. I'm fucking trying hard to open my third eye. It's pretty hard. Genuinely, it is still so hard for me to try to understand everything that I'm seeing in a production value glance. But hey, I'm trying my best. Please go give the video a like. Sub to his channel if you haven't. I'll see you next time.